What's up, 8th grade? Welcome back. We are on today's final lesson. All right, final lesson before the new common assessment. So we're going to take this lesson today. Y'all are going to take a mastery quiz Thursday, and then you're going to go on break. We're going to come back and review, and then we're going to take the common assessment. All right, so this is it. Let's focus up here. Finish strong. Last lesson of this semester. So today we're talking about satellite images. So I want you to come up here and write satellite image. And I think y'all already know that satellites are in space, so we are going to write a picture taken from space. And then these are really big pictures, right? So you can't see little things like human beings and animals, but you can see big things like landforms. So we're going to write picture taken from space to show landforms. They're way up in space. They take this picture, and then we can see like big things like mountains, craters, valleys. Today we're talking about four things. We're talking about craters, bays, rivers, shipping channels. I know mine are in color, yours aren't. So just make sure you draw what I draw, and this will help you to be able to see it in color, all right? So first thing we're going to write is a crater is a hole with a rim. That's all there is to it, all right? Crater's a hole with a rim. On the outside, there's this rim. I'm tracing it right here. And then it goes down. It's hard to see since this is from up top, but this is a big hole in the ground. The middle is way lower than the top. All right, we're going to talk about over time what happens to craters due to erosion. All right. Next thing is a bay. For a bay, we are going to write two different things. We're going to write that the bay is large, slow water. And then I'm going to come in here with my red, and I'm going to hopefully write it so you can see it. Yeah, there's the bay. You guys probably can't write that, and that's okay. But that's the bay right there in the middle. And then there's a second part of the bay, and it's called the mouth. So I want you to write mouth. I want you to write narrow, fast. So when you're in the actual bay, back up there, there is not a lot of movement. The water is really slow. And then here's the mouth. It's the entrance to the bay from like an ocean or something like that. That moves really fast because it's narrow. So the water's flowing super quickly, all right? That's what we know about bays. Rivers, I'm barely going to even spend any time on. But this is the river. You can kind of see it flowing. The word flowing is the important part. So we are going to write flowing water in a line. The important part here is the water is moving. Movement has to do with erosion, so keep that in your head. We're going to come back to that. Shipping channel is the weird one, all right? I want you to write on the shipping channel, you got two parts of a shipping channel. You've got the channel, and then you've got the beaches. So we're going to write a narrow passageway, or we'll say passage, made by digging. Then if y'all look in this picture, these are actually pretty tough to see, to be honest. But it's this little area right here. We're going to get better pictures. They're just these things that humans dig so that ships can get through. And we're going to talk about why and how humans dig them. That's going to be our focus, all right? So those are the four pictures, but what really matters is you can flip now with me. We need to talk about how weathering, erosion, and deposition impact each of these pictures. We're going to start with erosion and the crater. So the question says, how does erosion impact a crater? Well, I want you to circle crater. We're going to write hole with a rim. Hole with rim. We need to think, how does erosion impact a hole with a rim? Well, erosion is movement of sediment. Please write movement of sediment. Remember, weathering breaks things down. Erosion moves them. So erosion means the movement. Now I want y'all to do is split your page in half. Draw yourself on the left side a crater. I'm going to use brown. Draw a crater up on this top half, and then draw a smaller crater on the bottom half. So what happens when wind blows on this crater? It takes all the stuff out of the rim or the outside and puts it in the bottom. So it starts to fill in the crater. It's just like filling in a hole that you might have dug out in your yard. If you start filling it in, the wind fills in the crater. It gets narrower and less deep. So that's what we're going to write. Erosion makes craters. Oh, that's bad writing by me. Erosion makes craters. And then we're probably going to use the word lower and smaller. Erosion makes craters lower and smaller, fills them in. All right, that's how erosion impacts craters. We're going to go down next. I want to end on the shipping channel. That's the hardest one. How does erosion impact a bay? Well, let's just keep it going. We already know what erosion means. It means movement of sediment. So I'm going to change back to red. We're going to write that down. Erosion means movement of sediment. And now we need to split this in half, because depending on where in the bay you are, you're going to have a different impact by erosion. If you look back at your notes, you know there's two sections to a bay. There's the bay and there's the mouth. And if we look back at our notes, I'm going to leave it for just a sec, finish writing that. I'll come back. If we look back in our notes, there are two parts to the bay. The bay is large and slow. The mouth is narrow and fast. So let's write that down. Bay, we're going to write large, slow. Mouth is narrow and fast. So what does that mean for erosion? Well, if there's slow, you're not moving much in the bay, there's not much erosion. Not much movement, not much erosion. Remember, erosion means movement, so that makes a lot of sense, all right? Next up, though, in the mouth, we have a different situation. The mouth is narrow and fast. If there's a lot of movement, you guessed it, there is a lot of erosion. So when you look at maps and it asks you which point on the map has the most erosion, find the narrowest part, find the mouth. That's where water's going the fastest, and that's where you'll have the most erosion, all right? How does fire impact erosion near a river? We're talking about erosion again. I'm going to draw a river. And what we want to think about, draw a river just like that, and then split your page in half. What we want to think about is what plants do for erosion. So you guys try your best. You don't have color. I'm going to draw some, those are like little bushes, right? Little bushes. And if you remember 2 lessons ago, we talked about what vegetation does to erosion. So we're going to come over here and we're going to write more vegetation equals less erosion. So if there's more stuff in the ground, it's going to keep that soil held in place. But if you start to destroy your vegetation, put X's through it. For a fire, if fire burns up all the plants and trees around that river, well, guess what's going to happen? Here's what we're going to do. We're going to say fire. Actually, hold on. Yeah, that's fine. Fire destroys vegetation. And then I want you to draw an arrow, and I'm going to write this in red to really drive it home. That means it increases erosion. That's a little tricky, so let me say it again. If you destroy vegetation, you get rid of all the roots that used to be holding the stuff in the ground, holding the soil. If you're no longer holding the soil in place, it's really easy. It'll blow into the river by the wind, and that means erosion increased. So fires increase levels of erosion. It increases the levels of sediment. All right. Final question. This is the hardest one. How does dredging impact a shipping channel? I guarantee you don't know what the word dredging means, because I didn't really know it until I looked it up to teach this stuff. So here's what dredging means. It means moving sand from bottom of channel to beaches. Oh, that's where it says beaches. Let me rewrite that. It looks like benches. Beaches. So on the channel, you've got the middle. Right here, you got the narrow passageway. And then on the sides of it, you have lots of sand. So let's draw ourselves that. I'm going to draw a river. Or this is a channel, I'm sorry. And then on the bottom, I'm going to draw like these few pieces of sand. On the sides, I'm going to draw beaches. Okay, so do this however you can. I know you don't have color. Just get yourself a drawing that makes sense to you, okay? So then let's think what happens. Dredging means moving sand from the bottom to the beaches. So if you're digging at the bottom of the river, what is that doing? Well, it's making the channel deeper. So you're going to write dredging makes channel deeper. You're going to dig out that sand, and you're going to move it to the beach. Well, if you're moving it to the beaches are going to get wider. They're going to get bigger. So then I want you to write dredging makes beach wider. All right. Dredging makes channels deeper because you're taking the sand out of it and then you're adding it to the beaches. That makes the beaches wider. All right. Dredging is that process of moving sand from the bottom of a channel to the beaches so ships can get through. Because if they don't dredge the channel, eventually it's going to get all filled in through erosion and then ships can't go through it anymore. All right. I know that was a lot of stuff. Okay, so today we talked about craters, bays, rivers, and channels. We're going to get a lot of independent practice with it. Then we're going to finish strong on this exit ticket. All right. Last lesson, incredibly well done. Let's have a good rest of our class. Get after this independent practice. Let's go.